carpets of distinction, and by Julie Hat Company, maker of quality baseball-style novelty and advertising caps. Champions seldom repeat. The faces and the style are different. The opponents are resolved to prove themselves against a team that was number one the year before. Not only do champions lose experienced players, they often lose emotion, cohesion, and momentum. You must build again. You must grow and mature, and often there is not enough time. Few teams pick up where they left off. In 1981, the Georgia Bulldogs did.
Wayne Radloff up over the ball. Lindsey Scott splits out to one side, and Lon Buckler splits out to the other. The Dogs are in the eye. And Tech at the moment is in a 4-3. One of the linebackers stacked behind another one, and Buck is dropping back to throw. And looking, and he's going long, and he's got a man down there. There goes Lindsey Scott streaking. Lindsey Scott is gone. Touchdown, touchdown.
The national champs of 1980 got off to a fast start against a highly regarded Tennessee team. Stumbled against Clemson, but rebounded the next week. The Bulldogs grew and matured and proved themselves to be championship material by coming from 2 touchdowns behind to whip Florida. A week later, against Auburn, they became champions again. Georgia was a well-balanced, hungry, and efficient football team, bent on proving that it could repeat as a champion. It had strength, it had class, it had heart and desire. It had that winning emotion that meant so much the year before. There was talent and big playmakers. Most of all, what made Georgia great in 1981 was its balance. The Dogs could run and they could pass. They finished the season 4th in the nation in total offense and led the conference in running offense, scoring offense, and total offense. Not only did the running complement the passing, the offense and the defense complemented each other. The offense kept the ball on time-consuming scoring drives. When the defense was called on, it kept opponents out of the end zone and gave the offense repeated opportunities with the football. This balance enabled the Bulldogs to win 10 games and win them impressively. The only loss was to Clemson, a team that won 13-3 when the Bulldogs turned the ball over 9 times. The Dogs began by crushing Tennessee in the opener, 44-0. It got the Bulldogs off to a great start. California fell 27-13 when the defense choked down the Bears' run and shoot offense. And the Georgia offense clicked for 27 points. After Clemson, the Dogs shut out South Carolina 24-0 and then put away 3 SEC opponents, Ole Miss, Vandy, and Kentucky, by scoring 111 points while yielding only 28. They routed Temple 49-3 before the big game in Jacksonville. Florida remembered the 92-yard bomb from Ballou to Scott. They were bent on revenge, and they were ready. The Gators jumped out 14-0 with a deep pass and by capitalizing on a Bulldog era. Herschel Walker then showed a national television audience he was also a pass receiver. He scored on this 24-yard reception that closed the score to 14-7. The Dogs drew even when Walker scored on another pass reception. The momentum was shifting, and Georgia moved ahead, but Butler missed his first extra point of the year. Georgia lead was 20-14. The Gators quickly came back to go ahead 21-20, setting the stage for the exciting finish, which has become standard in Jacksonville when these two teams get together. Georgia went 95 yards in 17 plays, with Walker going over from a yard out. The Bulldogs prevailed 26-21. The Dogs could now win the SEC championship in Athens between the hedges. Vince Dooley had won 4, but all of the previous titles were clinched on the road. Dooley's Dogs had never won a championship in Sanford Stadium. Auburn ran the wishbone. It was an attack the Bulldog defense had not seen all season, and it gave the War Eagles an early 7-3 lead. The Georgia defense yielded yards, but only 2 scores, while the offense moved the ball consistently. Georgia had won its second SEC championship, back-to-back titles. No Bulldog team had ever done that. It was Dooley's 5th, Georgia's 9th, the most conference championships by any SEC school except Alabama. There was one big game left, Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Although the Jackets had won only one game, there was tension in the air. Tech wanted to be spoilers, but this Bulldog team still had hopes for a second national championship. They had come too far to falter now. It was swift and quick, the game's first play. 80 yards, Ballou to Scott. At the half, it was 34-0. It ended 44-7. Vince Dooley teams had beaten Tech 4 straight years and 14 times in 18 games. The Georgia offense, the power I attack, featuring tailback Herschel Walker, led the Southeastern Conference in scoring with 32 points per game. It led the league in rushing offense with 282 yards per game. Young offensive line, Gray, Radloff, Happy, James Brown, Harper, Norris Brown, kept getting better as the season progressed. And the unsung offensive hero, the player who perhaps best represented the spirit of the offense, the spirit that placed the team above all else, was fullback Ronnie Stewart. Through the years, the Bulldogs have displayed brilliant passing combinations. Frank Sinkwich threw often to the Davis boys, Racehorse and Van, and to George Poshner. There was John Rauch to Dan Edwards, Zeke Bratkowski to Harry Babcock and John Carson, Fran Tarkington to Bill Heron, Goff and Robinson to Washington, Cavan to Whittemore. But there has never been a greater combination than Ballou to Scott.
Lindsey and I go back a long way. We've had an opportunity to play against each other in high school and now 4 years here at Georgia. So I guess if anybody ought to know Lindsey's talents, it ought to be me, because I've been throwing to him for 4 years and I've seen him every day at practice and during the games, during the pressure situations. And he's a type receiver that can go deep on you, and he's a type receiver that can run the good routes and catch the ball and go all the way after a short out. So he puts a lot of pressure on the defense, and the people that know are the secondaries and the quarterbacks, and he's probably one of the most talented receivers in that aspect that I've seen in a long time in college.
As a quarterback, Buck Ballou is the guy that's going to get you the football in the pressure situations. I mean, he's going to come through in the pressure situations, and he's your leader, you know. And from a receiver standpoint, when you got a guy with those qualities thrown to you, a guy that you know that's going to get you the football in those situations, it makes a difference. And Buck Ballou is that type guy.
Few college players follow one big year with another. After his sensational freshman season in 1980, Herschel Walker came back for more yards in his second season. He gained 1,891 yards, and though the defenses keyed on him, he kept pounding out tough yards. When it was crucial, he got the first downs and the touchdowns. He kept the chains moving. He holds 15 school records, 8 SEC marks, and 6 NCAA records. 2 years of college football, 29 records. 1981's exciting rookie was place kicker Kevin Butler. 19 field goals, 94 total points. Both set SEC records. The Georgia defense was the toughest to score on in the SEC in 1981. Defense against scoring has been a Bulldog trademark, and Bill Lewis fielded a group that continued that tradition. Carver, Gilbert, Payne, Weaver, Crow, Taylor, Thurston, Harris, Bobo, Kelly, Williams. The Dogs gave little ground, allowing only 72 yards per game, the best in the SEC. Bill's boys shut out 3 opponents, and only 2 teams scored more than 1 touchdown on the Dogs. Perhaps the spirit of the Dog defense was best characterized by all-conference tackle Jimmy Payne and safety Steve Kelly. The Sugar Bowl. It was a bitter loss for the Dogs. They had led much of the game and showed the heart and spirit that had made them so appreciated by Georgia fans. The powerful Pitt Panthers won in the last seconds, but no Georgia team has ever given a more courageous effort. It was not the ending hoped for, but it was still a season to glory in.
Despite the bitter disappointment of losing the football game in the Sugar Bowl in the last seconds, I couldn't be more proud of our team. Certainly because of the effort in the Sugar Bowl and the fact that for the second year in a row that we were in the hunt and in the fight for a national championship. And when you consider a lot of factors about this football team, the 1981 team, I have to be very, very proud. Because first of all, it had a most difficult act to follow. That is the national championship undefeated team of 1980. And secondly, we had a lot of seniors off that 1980 football team that left us. And thirdly, we lost a lot of good coaches, some of which we lost after spring practice. So when you consider that, and then you consider that the 1981 team is the only team in Georgia's history to win back-to-back championships, both 1980 and 81, then you'd have to say that indeed the 81 football team, which finished first in the Southeastern Conference and fifth in the nation, was indeed a very, very special team.
My name is Dale Williams, number 9, defensive back from Columbus, Georgia. High school coach Grady Elmore.
I'm Matt Simon, number 11, running back, Statesboro, Georgia. Head coach Bill Schofield.
I'm Jeff Light, number 26, defensive back from Jessup, Georgia. Head coach John Donaldson.
I'm Lindsey Scott, number 24, flanker, Jessup, Georgia. High school football coach John Donaldson.
I'm Steve Kelly, number 23, defensive back from Savannah, Georgia. My high school coach is Jim Walsh.
I'm Joe Happy, number 56, center from Jenkintown, Pennsylvania. My high school coach is John Murray.
I'm Lon Buckler, number 81, start split in from Avondale Estates, Georgia. Head coach Crawford Kennedy.
I'm Jim Blakewood, number 77, offensive guard from Savannah, Georgia. My high school coach was Jim Walsh.
I'm Joe Creemans, number 94, defensive guard from Eustis, Florida. My high school coach was Rayburn Reynolds.
My name is Keith Hall, number 97, defensive end, Moultrie, Georgia. My high school coach was Bud Willis.
Eddie Meat Cleaver Wheaton, number 61, defensive guard, Haines City, Florida. High school coach Don Herndon.
I'm Buck Ballou, number 8, quarterback from Valdosta, Georgia. My high school coach was Nick Hyder.
I'm Ronnie Stewart, fullback, number 33, hometown Tampa, Florida. My high school coach was Jerry Durnan.
The Georgia Highlight film was sponsored by Patcraft Mills of Dalton, makers of carpets of distinction, and by Julie Hat Company, maker of quality baseball-style novelty and advertising caps.